Kayak Z here, and it's been a minute since I did my last the last video, but today I had to do one. I'm in Ghana, Africa. My first trip to Ghana, and we just stopped on the side of the road, and I'm going to show y'all some boats. You got some fishermen here that build fishing boats, and I'll show you what the fishing boats look like and what they're doing out here. We're going to check out the water and everything like that. But today was a pretty emotional experience. I went to a place called Assin, Manso. I think I said that right. Yeah, Assin, Manso. You can Google it. It's spelled Assinmenso. Assin, Manso. That's the place where they took the Africans, the slaves, where they had their last bath. All right, they took them there. They gave them a bath in this creek, and then they sold them. So I had an opportunity to tour that particular spot, and the brother I'm here with, he told me that a lot of people don't know about the last bath in Assin, Manso. So if you come to Ghana, you have to experience that. So I had an opportunity to walk down to that same water, and I made wudu in the water, and I made dua for my African ancestors.
Okay, my name is Kwame Divine. I'm going to be your guide here at the Assin Manso Ancestral Riverside, the very last place our ancestors who were held in captivity in their chains and shackles had their last ever bath before they were moved to the dungeons and eventually shipped out of this place to the New World. In the history of the transatlantic slave trade, many things happened on this land. On the entire continent, a lot of things happened. Among them were the enslavement of the people of the land, and then brutally murdering some of them. A historian here in Ghana called Akosia Adoma Pebi, in her book entitled The History of Indigenous Slavery in Ghana from the 15th century to the 19th century, gave account of so many happenings. It is actually an academic book. In that book, she made mention of several slave markets. She tells us that among many slave markets in West Africa, Gold Coast alone had about 63 of them. We have the Salaga slave market, Sampa, Janani, Ketekrache, Bono Manso, Techiman, Picoro. Assin Manso here, the dungeon at Cape Coast, Elmina, Fort Amsterdam, Fort William, all the way to the Christiansburg dungeon in Nosu, Accra. Even beyond Accra, you are going to the Volta region, a town called Atoko. There was a British historian called W.E. Ward. He traveled during the era of the slave trading. He kept a journal entitled The Short History of Gold Coast. In that book, he made us aware that many of the slave markets that I've mentioned were functional. All the 63 functional, but 2 of them were playing a historical role. Assin Manso here and that of the Salaga slave market in the northern territories of Gold Coast. The distance between the 2 slave markets is over 400 miles, and that's a journey of 653 kilometers. Our ancestors in those chains and shackles walked on foot in chains and shackles without shoes. Walking through the forest, they went through the Mole National Park and nature reserve full of wild animals. For them to walk freely through the park, many of them were being used as sacrifice. They used them as bait to trade their ways through the park. They succeeded. They met a river called the Pra River, and many of them got drowned. All the people who got drowned there were buried just at the bank of the river. They got here tired, hungry, dirty, and very, very skinny. Here, they saw the need for them to be fed, not because they were hungry, but because they were looking too skinny. No buyer wants such a person. When they got them here, they shaved them off with broken bottles and knives. After that was done, they forced their mouth open, counted their teeth, and then determined how old they were, grouped them before they took them on a walk to the riverside. So we shall head towards the river. When we come back, I tell you more about the other part of the facility. So please, let's take it. Oh, now only move. Only man in the whole crap. Okay, so we are here at the Ancestral Riverside. The very last place that they had a bath is down here. There are two main rivers, a river called Donkonsu and the other one called Assin. Donkon literally means a slave's river. They never allowed our ancestors to go into the Assin River, which means something that flows very fast and to the ground. They kept them on this side so that they could carefully take their bath. The Donkonsu, slave's river, flows so gently and calmly. Our ancestors were kept there so that they would get themselves in. In chains and shackles with a round metal ball around their ankles, they kept them in so that they could clean themselves. While doing that, they were still in chains and shackles. They couldn't do their full body, they could only clean their bellies. The captors saw them getting closer to each other to clean each other. They thought they were consoling each other and probably trying to free themselves to escape. So then they stopped them by separating them and then using the pitchy bamboo leaves as a form of brush to scrap them. Doing that caused so many of them the skins because they got bruised. After they got bruised, they threw them up here, lined them up, allowed them to get dry. After they got dry, they applied shea butter or palm kernel oil on them for them to look presentable and attractive for the buyers to come in. Those buyers who came here were with long-handled tools. The branding tools were used, so then they would leave it in the fire. Go out there to select whoever they want to select. Come back with it, then to the trees, chain them to it before branding their back, their chest, forearms and shoulders to give them the identities of belonging to their buyers before they took them on a walk to the dungeons. Today, I shall not go with you down this way because you are not here for the last part. You are here on behalf of your ancestors who suffered the fate of taking the last part. So then we shall go down this road for you to just have your feet in the river, wash your hands, get the water touching some part of your body as a ritual that we call cleansing. You are washing away this. You no longer have to carry the burden of the last bath. So that's why we go down there for that particular one. So we lose the shoes and walk towards the river and connect, and afterwards go to the other side. So please do well. They're looking. There you go. So when we talk about this journey that you have marked on, I always tell you there are so many people that have the resources that you do. They are so desperate to come here than you do that those groups have never had the chance to do so. Have you asked yourself, why you? Have you really searched about the greatest wish your ancestors could do? Their greatest wish was to come back here. They did all that they could. They did not achieve that. But what at all have we done to merit this? That is why in the minds of our ancestors, they call us their water deep, because we are living. Today, Your ancestors always told you so many secrets, but most of us don't see that secret. We just say you are an assignment. When I was studying African spirituality, I was told that the strength of an African was self-development. When a river wants to pass through a particular direction, nothing can stop that river. Your ancestors knew of it. And they say that about. Okay. I'll tell you about the war, but before we go, this is the chain and ball. When they took our ancestors to the river before moving them inside there to take their bath, they added this metal to the chains around their ankles to hold them still to prevent them from escaping. Whilst down there, they couldn't even do anything, so they were stable. This particular chain has been down in the river for so many centuries. In 2004, 2005, we had a group of African Americans. They came with Professor James Small. They went into the river. After pouring libation, they got in there. One of them stepped on something in the mud. They decided to pull the whole thing out to see what it was. When they got their hands into the mud and lifted the things up, they realized this chain was attached to the ball. Currently, this is about 20 pounds as we speak. It's been down there for a very long time. And you can imagine that it was more heavier than this. Today, we have this here to tell the story. Initially, we had a lot of them around, but then people were tampering with the metals and then were using them for farm tools. They would take it to the blacksmith and melt them for farm tools. The organization in charge of this place decided to come for the rest of them and move them to the various museums for safe keeping. And that's why we have this here. The people who were really instructed that we keep it here for people who visit to see. That's why we have it. The wall is called the Memorial Wall of Return. Please, you are allowed to. The Memorial Wall of Return was built in the year 2007 by the then tourism minister, Jacob Ichebilamte, as a way of keeping the spirit of our ancestors back home. They named it the Joseph Project because they wanted us to come back home and then have a way to connect with our people. They wrote on these walls the names. All these names represent the families of our ancestors, like yourself, who are returning home. The names that our ancestors were used to before the transatlantic slave trade was Kojo Bafo, Ejeni, Amate, and several other names.
Punta Kinte.
Punta Kinte. Yeah, because there are different tribes. Everybody and each other. So then, because of that, they our ancestors need to come back home through us. So that's why people wrote their last names on these walls. They gave them those names and they kept it, created a family with it. That's why we have the Smith, the Quinsons, and all these people. So then when you write on this wall, the last names are names I always advise my people to write on the wall. So when you write it, it's actually you inviting them by spirit to come home to us to perfect peace. So the authority in charge of the space instructs that whoever wants to do this helps us to maintain the grounds as well as support the community with a donation of 100 cedis for you. So that's the only requirement to write your name on this particular wall. So if anyone wants to do it, there is a marker there. You see the gentleman, and then we will use it for you. Yeah? So please.
When that down, we go the same thing like you. You could do it.
And from there, we went to Cape. I keep forgetting all. There's so many different places. We went to Cape Coast. We saw the Cape Coast dungeon down there where they took the slaves, and that was the last place where they held them at before they stripped them off. And I also viewed the door of no return and all of that.
One general mobile job.
I did it. Yes, you did it.
They were getting hello, welcome. We just started. As I'm saying, these African men in here were getting sick. They were getting weak. Because of the darkness in here, those who stayed here for 1 month to 3 months, they got blind. Yeah, and you know, the journey wasn't for the blind. It wasn't for the sick, it wasn't for the weak. So anytime the slave ships arrive, they take away only the strong ones, but they leave the weak ones here until they die, before their dead bodies will be thrown into the sea. In here, no captive was buried. All dead bodies were thrown into the sea. So on records, the bigger fishes that you know, the whale sharks, they were very close up to the castle, because they knew definitely they're going to get food to eat everything. This is the same place that these captives were being fed. Initially, they were feeding them outside, feeding them with roasted cassava, roasted plantain, some with fish, some with meat. It wasn't in a quantity that would satisfy them, but in a little portion that would just keep them alive. Anytime that they brought them outside, the strong and aggressive ones would try and fight with the soldiers. They would try to find a way to escape. It became so disturbing in this castle that the soldiers decided not to bring them out anymore to feed them. But from now onwards, they will feed them in their dungeons by throwing their food to them through this water happening. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can just see 200 people packed in here. You stand this side, throw food from this side. How the person standing there you see is as the floor has been scattered with human feces. So in here you have to struggle very hard before we get food to eat. Some of the captives decided not to eat at all. They decided to stay in the dungeons, starve until they died, just to use their lives to protest about this evil thing that was happening here. Some of them too had no choice. Because of the hunger, they have to pick up the food from the feces and eat them. And you can imagine the type of sicknesses that will get around here. The type of disease and infections. For them, they were dying in numbers. And any time that they died, their dead bodies were thrown into the sea. Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, this was the third chamber in the male slave hunting. And when you look on the floor of the second to the fifth chamber, you can see these floors are different from the first one. This is the darkened floor that I was talking about. The darkened floor that got excavated in the first chamber. So today I can confidently tell you we are all standing on top of feces, urine, blood, sweat, tears, vomit, saliva, food particles that ancestors left over. If they should excavate this darkened floor, we will find bricks underneath, like the first one that we saw in the first chamber. And ironically, the English built a church right on top of this chamber. God was worshiped just appear, because humans suffered and died beneath. And the name of the church is SPG, Society for the Propagation of the Gospel, or the Church of England, or the Anglican Church that we own. That is what it started. Preaching love your neighbor as yourself amongst themselves, whilst humans were kept and dying underneath. And for this, it wasn't a coincidence, it was intentionally done. I boldly say this just because it happened in all the castles that we have in Ghana. Elmina Castle, the same thing happened. The Dutch erected a Catholic church, right, about female slavery. The same thing happened in Osu Castle. The Presbyterian church is also sitting on top of a mountain, and the same thing here. So this actually tells you that the church played a vital role. Yes, they participated. The church was complicit. They condoned it. They empowered the ill treatment given to these Africans. Because at the end of the day, the evil that they did here benefited the church. The people who were doing the buying and selling of slaves in this castle were the same people who were preaching about Jesus Christ out there. Empowering Jesus. Let us see this hole here. This is a spy hole for which a soldier will have to stand there and monitor the captives in the stand. Interestingly, the spy hole that you see, it is connected to the entrance of the church. So anyone who moves in and out from the church will definitely see or hear everything that is happening here. They will see the captives clearly, hearing them crying, screaming, smelling the stench coming from the dungeons, whilst they move up there to worship God. Let us get closer to have a look through this hole. You can see. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the final or the fifth chamber in the main dungeon. But then you can clearly see this place is a bit brighter than the other chambers. There is no light in here. This is where they do the selection and sorting, where they separate the sick captives from the strong ones. You know, over here, they were doing everything here. They were eating, sleeping, defecating, urinating, everything here. So you can imagine the mess over here. Imagine sleeping by your own mess, sleeping for a maximum period of 3 months. Over here, people were actually falling sick. They were getting weak. Because of the darkness in here, they were getting blind. So anytime the slave ships arrive, they have to do sorting, where they separate the sick ones from the strong ones. Over here, you will see soldiers up here with guns. And what they do is, anytime they look through to see someone who is sick, weak, blind, they command that captain to move over there. But then if you are physically fit for the journey, there is an underground tunnel that you walk through all the way to the door of no return. And that tunnel begins on the side. This is the entrance of the tunnel. So the strong ones will be allowed to walk through. If you are sick, weak, blind, you wouldn't be allowed. You will be commanded to move there. But then when the strong ones are then walking through this tunnel, the soldiers will come inside the dungeon, come and examine the sick ones in there to see if they will survive and join the next ship. If not that, they leave them here until they die, before their dead bodies will be thrown into the sea. Sometimes, because they are bringing a lot of people in here, they send all the sick ones outside, tie them to the big cannonballs, throw all of them alive into the sea, so they die faster, just to create spaces for others to occupy. Today we can't walk through this tunnel because it has been blocked. Both the entrance and the exit has been blocked off, just to signify the abolishment of slave trade. But then when we move up, I will show you a portion of this tunnel for you to see how big indeed the tunnel is. It is a very long tunnel, about 70 to 80 meters longer. So they will all be walking through. There is no light, no ventilation in this tunnel. So you can imagine the rush. And when you turn, you can see the place is very dark, but then this place still remains brighter. That is how this place was. And over here, you can also see an altar. Everything that is here forms part of the African traditional religion, or the African spirituality. It has been written in so many books that the Europeans introduced Africans to God, and those informations are lies. They are fraudulent. Africans knew God before the foreigners came, but then their way of worshiping was different from the ones that the foreigners introduced. People over here knew God. They knew God is nature. For that reason, they can only worship God through the natural things God has created. So they had belief that they can communicate to God through the natural things such as trees, animals, stones, rocks, mountains, rivers. Over here, there was a huge rock. This side of the castle is sitting on top of a bedrock, and that rock happens to be an oracle, a deity or a lesser god that the natives were coming here to worship. But then when the foreigners came, due to the influence of these foreigners, the rock that the natives were coming here to worship was being destroyed into pieces. Portions of the rocks were sent to the township just to seize them from coming back here again to worship. But then when everything ended here, they brought pieces of the rocks back to its original place when slave trade finally ended. And in Cape Coast, we have 77 lesser gods or deities, and this happens to be the leader. The name is Nana Taber. Nana Taber. People still come here to perform prayers. People still do believe in the African spirituality. That is why you can find stools over here for visitors. And we have a priest here who watches the shrine. But unfortunately today, the priest is not around. He would have performed to you how we pray by pouring libation, pouring liquor on the ground, calling on the Almighty God and the ancestors. We have some of the original chains over here. Captives that were kept in the dungeons were in chains and in shackles. These are some of the original chains. These chains were found in this chamber. It was tucked in this darkened floor. So the priest in here saw it, uprooted it, and placed it here. So this actually tells us that if we excavate the other 4 chambers, we will find more of these. If you want to take pictures of it or if you want to hold it, you are allowed to do so. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I showed you the entrance of the tunnel in the male slave dungeon, and now this is the exit. I told you both the entrance and the exit has been blocked off, just to signify the abolishment of slave trade. So anytime the ships arrive, you will see the captives coming out here. Come inside. Come inside. You will see the captives coming out from the tunnel from this direction, and they will be in chains and in shackles in this position, always crying. And as soon as they come out, they will use the side. This was the initial door of no return, but then the British soldiers blocked it off just because of the high tides. When they see water becomes very rough, it used to come in here and flood this whole place. So they decided to block this side, but then created a new door of no return down there for them. So anytime the ships arrive, they wouldn't go this way anymore, but then they'll come out, join the females, and use the new one to move out from the castle. Let us see the new one that quick. Before we see the female tangents and the door of no return, let us talk about this area. This is a punishment cell. This punishment cell that you see was specially designed just to use it to punish the female captives who resisted rape from the British soldiers. The British soldiers were not coming here with their family just because this coastal belt was termed as the white man's grave. Due to malaria, they were not coming over here. They were dying in numbers. So over here, they were coming alone. So anytime that they were in this castle and they wanted to satisfy their sexual hunger, they end up abusing the female captives by raping them. Whenever you resist rape from any British soldier, you have a big case in this castle. First, they move you up there, beat you up mercilessly. After beating you up, if you still insist that you won't allow them to rape you, then they push you here. In here, you have to stay here maximum 7 to 10 days. Minimum, depending on the time that you have a change of mind. You receive your food, water, through this water. Same place you get your light and ventilation. And this space was covered with a big metal beams. On record, after spending your 7 to 10 days in here, if they bring you out and you still insist that you won't allow them to rape you, they move you up there again. You see the black balls over there, the cannonballs. They are very heavy. The bigger ones weigh about 40 to 45 kg. On records, they tie it to their legs and they command them to move with it. If you are able to walk with a cannonball tied to your leg, you are free. You go to your dungeon. But then if you're unable to move, meaning you have failed the test. So what they do is, they march all of them to the sea, wash off the toilet, urine, blood, everything from there. From there, they march all of them to their bedrooms and sleep with them. About 2, 3, 5, 4, 5 soldiers at a time. And when they are done, they just push you back to your dungeon. Trust me, the ball there is very heavy, so you can't move your leg. They had strategical ways of getting what they wanted from these female captives. And out of this, most of them got pregnant. It made the soldiers build stone houses in the township. So what they do is, anytime that they were in their 9th month of delivery, about to deliver, they take them there. Meaning you have to stay in the dungeons whilst you are pregnant, from the 1st to the 8th month. They only move you out in your 9th month of delivery. You deliver 3 months after delivery, they take the babies and they bring you back here. You wait and join the next year, and they train the babies to become slave masters, so they continue with this evil thing that we're doing here. Those children were the ones that they called the mulattoes. Yes. Let us see the female versions. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, this is the female slave dungeon. Female slave dungeon that you see has just 2 chambers. One here, one at the direct opposite. 150 women occupying each chamber at a time. So together 300. And on record, some were here with their children in these terrible conditions. The source of light and ventilation in this chamber came from these holes. These big spaces over here were all blocked off with metal gates. And in here, everything that happened in the male dungeon equally happened here. They were eating, sleeping, defecating, urinating, vomiting saliva, everything on the floor. The same floor was the place that they were sleeping together with their children. And as a slave, you don't bath, you don't brush your teeth for your stay in this castle. So the women who stayed here for 1 month to 3 months, they didn't get any water to wash off their menstrual blood while they were here. They were sleeping in it here. So the women among us, you can just imagine, 150 women all having their menstrual flow on this floor without getting water to wash it off for 3 good months. Imagine the stench in this room. Imagine the type of infections and diseases. And over here, they were not enclosed. They were all stripped off, both the males and females. Their genitals were covered. It's a piece of cloth. So imagine the skin here. For them, it was very terrible. They would die in numbers, and any time that they died, their dead bodies were thrown into the sea. Any question before we see the door of no return? Let us see the door of no return. Ladies and gentlemen, we stand right in front of the door of no return. As the name suggests, the door of no return, meaning when you go through this door, you don't ever return back again. At this point, it was very sad and emotional because people were separated from their families, from their loved ones, from their children. Families were captured together, but when they brought them here, they were separated, and due to that, they were not given the opportunity to talk to themselves whilst they were here. They could always see themselves from a distance, and they would be crying and crying and crying. The moment you walk through this door, you are no more considered as a human being at that time. You are considered as a commodity because you lose everything as a human being. You lose your identity. You lose your language that you speak. You lose your family, you lose your friends, you lose everything, including your reputation. When you walk through this door, you don't bear your name. You bear the name of your slave master. You have to speak like your slave master. The big door that you see was not big as you see. It was very small and narrow, designed in such a way that only one person could enter at a time. And before you enter, you need to bow before you fit in. Millions of people walked through this door, and not all of them survived. Most of them died on the middle passage. Some of the captives on the middle passage decided to commit suicide by throwing themselves into the sea, just because it will be better for them to die than to be taken to a place that is unknown to them. So out of frustration, they were just jumping into the sea. The soldiers were also offloading people because they realized the ships were very heavy. A ship that is supposed to take about 200 passengers, we're taking about 600 to 750 captives. And they were not taking the captives alone. They were taking the captives along with items. So anytime the ships were very heavy, instead of them to offload some of the items, they were offloading humans just to make the ships very stable and confident. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the door where African men and women for over 300 to 400 years walked through, and they never got a chance to return back to Africa. Today we are using the same door, and I'm assuring you we will surely return back. Let us be honest. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we are finally out from the door of no return. But then the sea was not far as you see. It was very closer to the castle, to where we have the staircase. Smaller boats will be here loading the captives to the bigger ships. And ironically, some of the slave ships had interesting names, such as Liberty, Brotherhood, Jesus, Freedom, Glory of Africa. You can see the irony in this. They were taking the captives to the Caribbean, West Indies, Northern, Southern America, and other European countries to work on the plantations that the Europeans established on the New World. And this staircase that you see over here was built by the British soldiers. They were not using the door of no return to come out. The door of no return was very small, so they were using this staircase where they named it the Golden Stairs. So as the captives use the door of no return, they will be using their golden stairs to join the ships. And when we all turn this way, we can see a beautiful thing up here. Are you getting it? We saw door of no return in, and now we are seeing door of return out here. What you see up here, this is very significant. It was posted up here 25 years ago when Ghana celebrated a festival called Emancipation, where 2 ancestral remains of ex-slaves were exhumed. One from Jamaica, one from New York. Samuel Carson from New York, Madam Crystal from Jamaica. The families of these 2 exhumed the mortal remains. They traced the ancestral roots and they finally got here. A ritual was performed right in front of the door of no return, just to break that bondage and the chains, which says no captive who will ever walk through the door of no return will ever return back again to Africa. They are saying they have finally returned. The chains, the bondage has been finally broken. Africans in the diaspora should not come back home. What happened here made them there. This is the ancestral land, this is where they belong. They should always remember that no one was captured here as an African American, as a Trinidadian, as a Jamaican. We were all captured here as one people. They sent us, they gave us different names, making us see ourselves as strangers. So in Ghana today, every 1st of August, we celebrate emancipation, just to welcome our brothers and sisters in the diaspora to come back home. That is why today you can see the door so big with the inscription, Door of Return. So beautiful people, let us all return back to the castle as we use the door of return to return back. Let us move. Let us all stand here as we conclude. All right, so they want to take a picture of here. So ladies and gentlemen, as we all use the door of return to return back, I told you all Akpaba. Akpaba means welcome. We just came through the door when millions of people walk through and they never return. We return today. So let us all say Akpaba. We are finally back. We are welcome back. Let us move up to see the condemned cell.
We'll see the female gunner and then walk out and go.
right, so ladies and gentlemen, we stand right in front of a cell. Now, what you see here, this is not just a normal cell, but it's a condensed cell. It is called a condensed cell just because when you enter this room alive, you don't come back alive. You have to die before they bring you out. When they take you here, they don't give you food. You don't get water. There's no light, no ventilation in this room. So you stay there, you suffocate, you die. This room was specially designed for the freedom fighters in this castle. The captives who try to fight for their freedom, those that recall the rebellions, this is where they were punished. And the big door that you see also here, this is the only original door left in this castle. Yes. It is over 200 years. Made of pitch pine, the only original door right here. We are all moving inside, but then lower your head so you know it, and you can have a feel of the door as you move inside.
Death chamber for the fighters.
Keep your head low. Go this way. All right, so yeah, you come this way. Yeah, you come. What's your name? I want your light to be off. Yes. Okay. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, that was the condition in here. No one can see anyone here. Full darkness. Please on the light.
Hey!
And over here we have 3 doors. The first one at the middle, and one here. How then can you escape? There wasn't anything like electricity, so no lights. That is why I have the light for you to see the darkness here. No window for ventilation, no food, no water for anyone here. You stay in this darkness, you suffocate and dehydrate, and you die. And over here, the worst thing that happened here was, imagine we are all in this castle, fighting the British soldiers for our freedom. They capture all of us, bring us here today, and they realize today, this gentleman is dead. The soldiers go back. They don't take away his dead body. We all have to stay here with his dead body until the last person here is dead, before they send all the dead bodies outside. So you can imagine, even the smell of the rotten body will even kill you here. And here, it was very sad and emotional. Because no matter how strong you are, you won't survive in this room. No one can stay here for more than 48 hours. You die. And they were bringing about 15, 20 people here at a time. And anytime that they find out everyone is dead in here, they bring the male captives from the male dungeon to the courtyard for them to come and see and serve as a deterrent. So over here, even you fighting for your freedom, they also had a way just to bring them down psychologically, mentally, so that they couldn't stand and fight for their freedom. May those who died rest in peace. Please watch your heads as we move on, sir.
I have some footage that I'm going to share in this video, and I hope you look it up and you also take the trip and take the journey.
What you have social media? Social media. I want from boy, I'm a champion. And I want to come in. I did this.
Question of the day now.
So over here we got the brothers over here making the boat. This is the yard. This is the boat yard. Brothers working hard. This is some real craftsmanship. All right, now we're not too far. I'm looking at the ocean right now. So we're gonna walk down to the ocean. They got got a little goat over there. I can hear the water. I see the water and I can hear it. I can see some fishermen out there right now fishing on their boats, and I see some boats over here moored in the beach. This is Ghana, Africa. These look like some old boats here. But some of them look old, but they probably still use them. This is some prime real estate. If this was in America, and you see the fishing boats out there? We gotta go, else I would probably stay here and wait for them to come back to see what kind of fish they caught. But this is a fishing community in Ghana. My type of community. Who knows? I might get some property out here. Putting that in the atmosphere. First trip to Ghana. This is what I'm talking about right here. Just wish it was a little cleaner, but there's all kind of stuff here on the beach. Maybe get an acre of land or a plot of land out here. Bring my kayak, launch it right here. Paddle around those fishing boats and show them how it's done, right? Nah, they had to teach me something. This is the Atlantic Ocean. Other side of the Atlantic. Little pink shell, a pink one. They're usually white. I never saw a pink one. This is nice. Ghana, Africa. Atlantic Ocean. That's a wrap.